Hello! Welcome to my little kitchen in Japan. My name is Jeremy and this is Home Cooked Abroad. Today I'll be making okonomiyaki. I hope some of you are also cooking along. If you are, let me know in the chat. So the chat should be right here on the right side of your YouTube window. If you have any questions along the way or comments, feel free to leave them there and I'll answer them live. There is a slight delay, so if I don't answer right away, just wait a little bit and I'll get to your questions. I'm super excited because this is my first live stream, so bear with me if I'm getting used to switching the cameras around and all of that while cooking at the same time. So, but anyway, I'm really excited for this chance. I'm excited to talk with you directly in the chat and hear some of your feedback. If at any point, maybe if the volume is too loud or too low, just let me know. And let's get started. So, okonomiyaki is a classic Osaka dish. It's a cabbage pancake filled with everything delicious, usually seafood, pork. I mean, okonomi literally means whatever you like. So this is a very versatile dish. It's always like a crowd favorite, and really popular at parties, so I recommend you give it a try if you haven't already. It's something I always like to make when I go back home for my family and friends. You're in my kitchen right now, so I'll show you the setup that we do have. So I'll be able to, I have a camera here so you can see up close to what I'm doing. So you will need a bowl, a cutting board, and a knife to get started. And then I also have a frying pan here with my camera so you can see when I'm cooking. So to make okonomiyaki, it'll start with a basic batter and of course your cabbage. So the ingredients list is in the description. If you're cooking along, please refer to it. Or if you're watching this after the fact and you're cooking along with the recorded video, that's great too. So you'll need cabbage is one of the main ingredients. And of course some flour, two eggs, and some water. So that's the basic. Other than that, I'm going to be using some seafood. The seafood I'll be using today, I have some shrimp, octopus, scallops, and then for the meat I have some pork belly. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So if you are viewing right now, I'd love it if maybe you could say hello in the chat just so I know who's here. If anyone's cooking live, please let me know in the chat too. Depends, if there are people following along, I'll try to go a little slower. If people are just watching, then I'll just go at my own pace. But let's have fun today. So I'm excited to interact with you all. Okay. Just wait a few seconds for the chat to catch up. Okay. All right. So to make the batter, we're going to start with about a cup of flour. So this is a bit, this is a bit tricky because a cup of flour in metric and a cup of flour in US is not exactly the same. It's about 120 grams of flour. Might be a little less, but in US, but it's roughly about a cup. So it took me quite a while. I think it almost took me 10 years of living in Japan to figure out that there are some slight differences, embarrassingly enough. So we'll get started with our flour in a big mixing bowl. And water. So it's not going to be exactly... All right, so we have I see some people in the chat. Travis is watching live. Thanks for joining. And Susie, my mom, is watching, and I think she's cooking along too. So thanks for joining in. All right, so we'll also, it's about just a little under like 100 milliliters of water. So in US, I think it's about a half of a cup. So it's gonna be a little less water to the flour. But you know, you can adjust if it's too loose, you can add a little more flour. If it's you know, too thick, add more water, of course. You know, we want to go for a pancake batter consistency, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So we'll put in our water and 2 eggs. So this is the basic batter so far before we get our cabbage chopped and in the batter. Okay. I think this was my first real YouTube video that I did. It was my first Zoom cooking lesson I did for anyone who joins that. And it was my first short, so I felt like I had to make this my first live video too. Okay. And other than the flour, the water, and eggs, which are pretty standard, we have some dashi. This is granulated dashi. We use it a lot of Japanese recipes. It appears in many recipes on my channel. It's really great. It's made from Katusobushi, that's skipjack tuna flakes, and kombu. Brings a really rich umami taste and smokiness. So if you are using fresh dashi, because it also comes fresh, just replace the amount of water that I just added, about 100 milliliters, with just straight dashi. So, but in the case that you're using some granulated like this, we'll use 100 milliliters of water, and then about like 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon of the granulated dashi. Not too much. I think in my earlier recipes on the channel, I went like everything was a tablespoon. So maybe we don't need to go that much. So here we have our batter. Let's just give that a quick whisk and make sure it's smooth, just like a pancake batter. Some other people joining in, saying hi. Free says hi. Hello, Free. And Karen says hi from Ohio. So hello from Tokyo. Thanks for joining in. I'm glad you can make it. So let's just whisk that together until you don't see any more flour and it's a nice pancake consistency. And my grandmother is also watching, so hello, thank you for joining in. Is anyone cooking? Let me know if you're cooking and what step you are at. Oops, okay. Okay, so that's about the batter that we will go with. We don't need the whisk anymore. The rest will just be folding in. So let's get out. We'll put that to the side for now, and we will cut our cabbage. So we'll need a cutting board and a knife for that. Question about dashi. So half a cup of dashi, if you have liquid dashi, yes, but if you are using water plus granulated dashi, about a half a cup of water plus a tablespoon, or just a little less than a tablespoon, maybe even 2 teaspoons of granulated dashi would be fine. But thanks for the question. Eri, hi Jeremy. Hi Eri, thanks for joining in. I appreciate you watching. Okay. All right. So for the cabbage, we don't need the whole cabbage, or actually this is a half a cabbage anyway. So I'm just going to use about like 1/8 or so. So cut roughly about this much. Maybe, well, we'll see how that goes. But we'll save the rest for later. We can add more if necessary. So the cabbage, we're just gonna dice really finely, almost shredded. You can shred it if you want. Oh, by the way, this is Osaka style. It's kind of just like a pancake. Hiroshima style is more like a layered okonomiyaki, very delicious. That recipe would generally have shredded cabbage instead of diced, but today we'll dice. So we'll just do long strips one way and then dice it the other. Okay, you don't, yeah, at first I cut 1/8 of a cabbage. I thought, is that enough? But, you know, it'll appear like a lot more once it's all diced. So let's go through and dice that up. See, another comment. Ma Bao says, not cooking, but having kalbi. That's great snack. Great Japanese snack. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Ari also says, not cooking, but that's all right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Can always, I think the great thing about doing these live streams is that you can always come back on the recorded version and reference it later at your own pace and leisure. I'm really excited to be doing live streams because, you know, for the past year it's been quite busy. Some of you know, many of you know, I was doing a food truck, so didn't have as much time to record and edit. Particularly editing took me quite a while when I was busy with a food truck. So with live streams, don't need to edit, so maybe I'll be doing that a little more from this year. I hope so anyway. So we'll just dice the cabbage finely, just like this. All right, and Mao Bao says jotting. So jotting down some notes for later. That's great. All right, and you can take these pretty finely if you like. And this is basically all we need to cut for this recipe in terms of going like in the batter. We have some seafood. Depending on what seafood you have, you might need to prepare it a little. Also, other things that go well in this batter, I mean, really anything. I mean, really, it really lends itself well to whatever you like. So if you want to add some like green onions, you can dice up some green onions and bring some nice flavor. It's very similar to like the Korean pajang, for which are the green onion pancakes. Very similar idea to that. Just adding vegetables to a batter and then frying them in a frying pan. Okay, and also I'll show you how to add some kimchi in later. I'll show you how to use the same batter for 2 different styles of pancake. So there we have our cabbage chopped, and we will just toss that into the batter. Ma Bao says, great having new uploads. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining. I always appreciate hearing that. And Travis says, Jeremy's food truck is fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Susie says, remember that time I forgot to put cabbage in the batter? Yes, I can believe that, yes. And Karen says, could you use a cheese grater for the cabbage? Yeah, you certainly could. That's not a bad idea. You could, yeah, use a shredder or a cheese grater instead if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring this around. I'm just using just mix that together. I'm just using a ladle because that's what I'll be using to put it in the frying pan. So, actually, personally, I think maybe I would like a little more cabbage in there. Thought it looks a little small. So, anyway, I will add just a little more. I like a little more in there. But, you know, adjust to your tastes. There's no right or wrong answers for this. So if you do come to Japan and have this out in a restaurant, what's really great about this dish is that they make it right in front of you on a hot plate. So it's a great experience as well, you know, as being delicious. Hiroshima is quite unique. They have whole buildings full of okonomiyaki stands, and you just wait online for the one you think looks good, and they make you some okonomiyaki right in front of you, so you get like a little show as well as dinner. I really like Hiroshima style because it is a little more technical. That's the reason why I'm going for Osaka style in this first stream. Keep it simple. Hiroshima, you kind of stack up the different layers, cook everything separate on the hot plate, and then stack it all up. Very delicious. And there's noodles inside. These will not have noodles inside. Nothing against noodles inside, just keeping it simple this time. This is a dish that I make here about maybe once a month, like on a Friday night. It's a good meal, good satisfying meal. Goes well with beer and drinks. Okay, so I chopped up some additional cabbage and we'll toss that in. Okay. Give that a mix again, and this is more the consistency I was going for. So looked like, you know, swimming around a little too much in the batter. I want it a little more kind of chunky like this. So this is, I'm happy with the batter right here like this. There are two more things that I'm going to add directly to this batter, other than the seafood, that I did not put in the description. So these are optional. Like if you are able to get them, then you can add them. If not, that's fine. So I'll show you what those are in just a second. Okay, let me switch back to my main camera. So, two things that I will be adding that are completely optional, but they add a little more depth, is this tenkasu, also called agedama. These are like the little bits of fried batter that you'll get as a leftover from making tempura, but they actually sell them in packages like this, really for like okonomiyaki and other recipes like that. So if you can get them, they just add a little more flavor, saltiness, I guess. They're really good. And also to bring even more of that seafood flavor. I mean, we already have the dashi, which is pretty heavy seafood flavor. We're going to be adding in some shrimp and scallops. And then these little sakura ebi. So these are little dried shrimp. So we'll be adding both of these a little bit each to the batter. If you can get them. I mean, I won't say they're a must, because if you don't use them, if you don't have another use for them, I don't want you to just go out and buy them just for the okonomiyaki. But if you have them, then you can add them. So that's our dried shrimp, the sakura ebi, and then the agedama, or tenkasu. Just open the package and add a little bit. Make sure that you refrigerate these after you open them, since they're kind of a byproduct of frying. So they do have like a little oil taste. If you don't put these in the refrigerator after, they will go stale, which happened to me once, and I put them in an okonomiyaki batter, and they were in my cabinet for a while, and the whole batter tasted pretty off. So make sure that you refrigerate these after opening, and throw them away by the time you need to. Again, I won't say that these are a must, because if you don't have another use for them, you don't need to buy them just for okonomiyaki. I'll figure out maybe some other recipes on my channel that use them if you do get them. So just a nice to have, but not a must. So just put those in the refrigerator for later. So let's see what the chat is up to. Yes, Susie recommends it's good to go to the okonomiyaki place with the longest line. Yeah, in general, that is a good strategy. Usually there's a line for a reason. If there's a pretty empty okonomiyaki place, that pretty much means the people have spoken. It's not as good. So, and Anna says, Jeremy's cooking looks really good. Well, thank you, Anna. I really appreciate that. And Mabao says, yes, are dried shrimp good as a fried rice topping? Yes, they are. So actually, I was looking at the back of the package right now, and they said you can use them in the fried rice itself. So that is a great suggestion, a great idea. You can use the sakura ebi in fried rice as well. Okay, so there is our batter. Now let's get the okonomi part of the okonomiyaki in. So I'll bring back my cutting board. I'll show you which seafood that I have prepared today. So I have some shrimp. These are already cleaned and deveined, so I don't have to do much to them. If you have some shrimp with the shells still on, of course, take the shells off, devein them, and prepare them so they look like this. They give a really nice texture in the okonomiyaki itself. Really great addition. I also have some scallops, or some scallops, if you are in New England, which I think a few of you are watching from New England. So some scallops and some octopus. I really like octopus, especially in the okonomiyaki. These are up to you. So shrimp is classic, really delicious. If you don't like octopus or can't get octopus, you can feel free to skip it. I like the texture it brings. I also like squid in there as well. So for the octopus, we'll just cut it into a few small pieces and then toss it directly in the batter. So we get some nice chunks of it here and there in the okonomiyaki. If any of you are cooking, what kind of seafood did you prepare? So here we have some octopus right in the batter. This is already boiled too, so they sell it like this, so you can prepare it and put it in salads or things like that. So put it in the batter and give it a mix. And mix that in so it's well incorporated. If you don't have the boiled version, if it's raw, you may want to just blanch it briefly. Again, that is if you are eating octopus. There's scallops. So we will just give those, maybe we'll dice them in a couple of chunks, maybe in quarters would be good. Scallops can go in raw. They'll cook with the rest of the batter. Squid, if you're using it, also raw is fine. They'll cook with everything else. And finally, our shrimp. I think these have been deveined already, but if not, I'll show you a quick trick for deveining shrimp. Wash my hands before going to touch anything else in the kitchen. So you may notice that they're intact, and there is a way to devein the shrimp by keeping them intact, because usually you would have to cut the back to take out the intestine, but if you, right where it crimps, right about here, if you put a toothpick right in between, right through, and then pull up, you can usually pull it out, but it looks like these have already been deveined, or they're really clean. So I don't think we have to do that, but it was a good chance to show you how I devein shrimp. Yeah, these have already been removed, so that's great news for me. I don't know how your shrimp are, wherever, whatever you're using, but yeah, these look pretty much fine. So we'll just toss them right in the batter. All right, now that I've used my cutting board for seafood, I'm going to give that a quick wash and also wash my hands. Just to make sure everything's clean after cutting raw food on it. All right, and I have a few more comments that I'll check in just 1 second. I think that's it for the cutting board and knife, so I'll go put that on my drain. All right, let's see. All right, so all our seafood's in the batter. Let me just give a quick check to the chat. Rich says, hi from Brooklyn. Well, thank you very much, Rich, for watching and maybe cooking along. I'm not sure, but thank you for joining anyway. And Mabao says, learned about okonomiyaki from manga, kind of like high school kids, simple go-to meals. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always cool to learn about new foods from media like that. So that's kind of funny because so the first time I had this was in college, and it was with a bunch of the students, study abroad students at my school, and they just made this giant pancake. It was cheap, had a lot of great ingredients in it. Maybe not so cheap because we did have to go to the Asian market, which I'll show you the toppings and ingredients that we'll be using later, but those are quite expensive in the US. But yeah, they made this massive pancake, put it in the middle of the table, and didn't even cut it. You just break it apart with your chopsticks from the center. So it's a really great communal meal like that. So great for students who, you know, make a little bit of ingredients go a long way. Okay, so there we are with our batter. I'll just mix that all together and have the seafood well incorporated in there. All right, and that is our basic batter. What I really love about this is that you can make like the basic okonomiyaki for the first pancake and then switch it up for the second or third pancakes. Other things that you can just add, which I will later to show you. Cheese goes great in here. It's one of the only few Japanese foods that goes really great with like some shredded cheese. That's great. Kimchi and cheese together. But yeah, you can adjust the flavors as you go along. Okay, so our batter is ready, and we'll move over to the stove and frying pan here. So we will heat up a frying pan on like a medium heat. So it's going to cook for about like 6 to 7 minutes on each side, so you don't want anything scorching hot. I have a non-stick pan here, and I'll add just a little bit of canola oil. You can use olive oil, that's fine too. I just find for Japanese recipes I like to stick with more neutral flavor, but that's not to say that you can't use olive oil. I just don't want it competing too much with other flavors. Of course I love olive oil for most everything else. So we'll let that heat up. Always a good idea to keep your pans preheated, especially if you're using electric or IH. Make sure to get those hot before adding any batter in. So while that heats up a little, the other thing you'll need is 2 spatulas. You can get away with 1 if you only have 1, but 2 is recommended for flipping them over. So have those ready because we will be using them right away when we put the batter into the pan. We'll kind of give it a little mix, just like they do if you're watching this at like a flat top right in front of you. They'll kind of mix the ingredients together with the spatulas. If you only have 1, you can do it with 1. It will make flipping a little harder, but if you're used to making pancakes, then you know the good pancake flipping technique with the flick of the wrist. So, but anyway, have those ready. Let's get back to our stove. And so our oil is probably getting a little hot now, so I'll turn it down a little. And we'll take a couple of ladles full right here. And stove is pretty new. It likes to beep when it thinks it's done preheating. It usually does a pretty good job. So it's nice of the stove to do that. Okay, so we have our batter in. We're going to shape it a little. That's what the 2 spatulas are for. So you can just give it a quick kind of mixed together. Make sure everything's well distributed, and you can bring it back into roughly a circle shape. I want more of that octopus distributed a little more evenly. Taco, as you would say in Japanese, which this is very similar to another Osaka favorite, takoyaki, which would take little bits of octopus like this, put it in roughly about the same batter, a little looser, and turn them into little fried or griddled balls, perfectly round spheres. That's great too if you're in Osaka. Okay, and that's our main pancake. The other thing we will add to this is the pork. This is thinly sliced pork belly. It looks like bacon, but it's not smoked nor cured. So this is really great in a lot of Japanese recipes. So I'm going to lay this across one side of the okonomiyaki now, and I'll show you how to do that. So I recommend, if you can find it, usually cuts like this might be available in your local Asian market. If not, you can always get away with using some bacon, but you know, that's up to you. So I think probably this is going to be a little long, these pieces, longer than our okonomiyaki. Not too bad. All right. You could cut them with some kitchen shears to make them a better size, or fold them over, but I won't cut them today. Okay, so we'll lay these over, and you can fold them over kind of like this. Instead of cutting them, you could cut them. They will crisp. They should crisp nicely when we flip this whole thing over. So we'll add a couple on each side, fold them over. And maybe one more. We can save the rest for the next pancake. If you have a lot of people to feed and you need to make a bunch of these, of course, get out another frying pan and have two going at the same time. And there we have the pork belly layered on top. Here is a trick, because when we flip this, it's going to be directly on the surface of the frying pan so that it doesn't burn or cook too quickly. Here's just a little tip. Take a little batter without a lot of ingredients in. You don't want any other seafood, but just a little batter like this, and just paint the top of the pork, and that'll give it a nice little coating and crust so it cooks nicely but doesn't burn when it's directly on the frying pan. So we'll just paint the top at the back of the ladle, just like that. Get a little rest from my utensils. Okay. So we'll let that cook just for a few more minutes on this side before we give it a flip. You can check it a little, see if it's getting some nice color. Staying together quite nicely now. Yes, so Ma Bao asks, is it on a medium heat? Yes, it's a medium low right now. I started on a medium heat and just turned it down slightly. Depends on your stove, electric electric IH, you might want to keep it on a medium. But for gas, start at a medium and turn it down slightly. You don't want it burning too quickly. Anna says, I don't like octopus or shrimp. Can you use something else instead? Yes, of course. So you can use whatever you like in this. You can actually not even use seafood at all if you don't like seafood. Just a cabbage pancake with some pork would be fine too. Or if you don't eat meat, then yeah, you can use other vegetables. I would think like more kind of like a zucchini cake. You could also shred some zucchini and carrots in there too if you like. This is really versatile and it goes well with a lot of different vegetables. Okay, so sounding like it's cooking pretty well here. So it's been about 6 minutes, I guess. So to flip, take your 2 spatulas, put one on either side, and you can just give it a flip like that. And we have a nice golden crust on the okonomiyaki. That's what we are looking for. Oh, and Tao says, I like zucchini more than cabbage. Neat idea. Thank you, and thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. So I think you live in Osaka, so you have, you know what a real Osaka okonomi tastes like. Have you made it? Tell Anna gummy bears might work. Well, yeah, if you wanted to. Some kids version like that, go for it. Okay. So while the pork crisps on that side, let's talk about the sauces that you will need. You will of course need some okonomiyaki sauce. It's a little thick, and I'm not sure exactly what it's made of, so I don't know if you can like make this from scratch. I think it's some kind of plums, but also maybe some Worcestershire sauce and things of that nature. It is really good. It is essential for this. Every time I go home, I usually grab a bottle of this, put it in my suitcase, as well as a bottle of Japanese mayo. And this really, it's for making it easier to dispense. So this one actually has a great cap to make it easier to come out in a few parallel clean lines. So I'll show you that later. But if you have the QP that just has just the one nozzle, that's fine too. So I make it like that all the time. Also, you will need some Aonori, which is like a seaweed in flakes. So we'll sprinkle that on top, and Katusobushi flakes. And what's really fun, the signature of this dish, is sprinkling those on top and watching them dance in the heat. So that's really cool. So we'll have these standing by. So once one okonomiyaki is done, we'll put the next one in, and then we will top the other. So let's get our station a little organized here and get a plate ready. So we'll transition back to that. All right. It's not a whole lot of space to work with counters in Japan. So let's check. It's getting nice and crisp. It's feeling pretty good too. I think another 2 minutes or so. If you're setting timers, like 6 to 7 minutes on each side. Tao says, sorry for joining late, just woke up. That's all right. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. It is morning here in Japan, Sunday morning. I think for many of you on the east coast of the US, it's probably evening. Thanks for staying up late to cook if you are cooking. I think it's almost 9 there, but you will have your first okonomiyaki soon. Here in Japan, it's morning, so this is kind of like a late brunch. All right, I think we are getting close to this being done. So I'm gonna flip it just once because I want the pork on top. So as you can see, the pork is nicely crisped with that batter on top. That's important for a couple reasons. I mean, one, it's delicious, but two, when you cut it or break it apart with your chopsticks, if it's not crisp through, it's going to be a lot more difficult to cut. So once it's crisp like that, you should be able to break it up pretty easily. And there's our first okonomiyaki. I think it's pretty cooked through. You can see the scallops and shrimp are cooked. So that's looking pretty good. You know, don't rush it. You can be fooled by okonomiyaki where it looks great on the outside, inside the batter's still raw. You know, you don't want to rush the process. Just, you know, take your time, a few minutes, you know, 6 to 7 minutes on each side, and then you can serve. And we lost a octopus, piece of octopus there. Okay. So again, like now that we have our first okonomiyaki ready, we will get our next one. So the only thing I'm going to do differently to this one, so I like to do these in different stages. Build up, do a one, put the cooked one over here for now. Okay. All right. Sorry, got to get this all organized a little better. I'll kill the heat once just so I can get this batter ready. Add in, and this is really great, add in just a little bit of cheese. That'll help give a nice kind of a stringy texture. Always like that. Sometimes, like if you go out for like monja, which is kind of a similar idea, it just doesn't hold its shape. In Tokyo, you can get like camembert like melted into the batter, which is really great. So this will be our second one with cheese. Let me do, okay, so I'm gonna probably use half of this left for one cheese one, and then the final one I'll do kimchi, both kimchi and cheese together. Okay, so let's go back to the stove. It still should be pretty hot. Add a little more oil if you need it, and add in your next batch. How's everyone doing who is cooking? How thick is it? Okay, Mabao asks, how thick is it? So it's about probably like maybe centimeter, half-inch. But you can make these as small or as big as you want. Don't make them too big, or else they might not cook through. Like this one is coming out a little smaller just because I wanted to do 3 different versions. So here I am, I'll make that a little flatter. But yeah, about 1.5 inches, maybe about that. Yeah, you can make them as big or as small as you want. You can make them more personal size, make them a little smaller. So here we have our second one, and let's see, for the pork, maybe this time just to show you what I do with the scissors, I will just slice them just to show you something a little differently. You can use some kitchen shears, which are great for cutting meat like that without having to get out the cutting board again. Whoop. So sorry. Okay. And you can layer again, just like this. Okay, just gonna sticking to each other. Guess I'll pop them back in the fridge between okonomiyaki just to not leave them out. And there we go. Same idea, just this one's cut more to the size, so you can do them either way. So I'll just put a little wrap on top and put these back in the fridge before our next one. And while I'm there, I'll get out the kimchi. Oop, and that went black. Okay, so here we have our kimchi. We will throw in, this is already chopped, so if you have kimchi that isn't cut yet, make sure to cut it. Oh, and I promise we'll get back to our first one to decorate in just a little bit. Just get this ready. So kimchi, we will throw in some just directly into the batter. It should turn the batter a nice red, and kimchi and cheese actually really great together. And this version might be my favorite. It does, with the cheese and the kimchi together, for some reason just kind of tastes like pizza. So there we go, nice red batter. And that will be our third one. But we'll need to get back to our first one, and I'll show you how to top that. Let's get that to the side. Here is our first one. Korean style, yes, kimchi. And wow, cheese, I didn't think I've tried that. Yeah, it's really good. Okay. So first one, we'll do some sauce. We'll do a layer one way, kind of going like that. Turn it, and then the other way. So you got a nice hashed pattern there. Then turn it like, maybe, I'm gonna turn it just like 45 degrees. And then do the mayo in the opposite direction. And here we go. Oh, there we go. Yep. Turn it 90 degrees and go the other way. And there's our sauce and mayo on. Let's get back to, we need to flip this one. Came out a little darker, that's all right. Multitasking. All right. Next, we'll do the Aonori. And this we'll just sprinkle from above and just kind of let it fall where it will in the center, not too much. There we go. And then finally, the Katusobushi flakes, which we'll also sprinkle from above and let it dance a little in the heat. And there we go. That is our first okonomiyaki. So you can grab some chopsticks and dig in and enjoy. So that looks great. That's how you make okonomiyaki, and we have 2 more coming up. Have any of you made your first one now? Time to taste, yes. It is time to taste. I guess I'll be ending my fast just an hour earlier than usual. I've been doing 16-hour fasts recently. But yes, I think it's time to taste. So also got another question. Almost like a Korean seafood pancake. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is, I think the big difference between like a Korean seafood pancake and okonomiyaki would be there might not be cabbage in the Korean version. It's pancake and either green onions, kimchi, or seafood. But yeah, similar idea. And Tao says, my husband was so surprised to see me cut everything in the kitchen with scissors. Yes, I know he uses scissors sometimes too. Great, good. That's good influence rubbed off on him. That's awesome. Yeah, they are really useful in the kitchen, especially when you need them quickly and don't want to get out a cutting board. So here we have our first one. Let's see. I'll hold off on trying that real quick. Want to get these out of the pan first. So let's. All right. So we have our second one here. So I guess this was a good a test because I realized in my multitasking I did not put some batter on the top of these porks so you can get a good idea of what they look like when they're cooked directly without batter coating. So they have crisped up nicely. I have it on a low heat right now just because I'm going to turn on the fan a little. I hope it's not too loud for the live stream. But yeah, here we have it cooked without that. This is kind of what it looks like cooked without the batter on the pork, but that's good for you to see. It does get nice brown and crisp, but it still didn't cook as evenly as I'd like. I'll put that back over, give that another couple minutes there. All right, let me get a couple of chopsticks, and here we can give this one a try. It's looking good. So guess I should take a picture for Instagram later. Yes, if you see my phone, then it's 90% food. So let's give that a try. To break it apart, just dig your chopsticks in and kind of cut them through like that. The pork should crisp and is broken apart nicely. You can always put a little pressure breaking between the two pieces. If so, it's a little messy to eat, so but you know, it is good bar food. All right, let's get a good piece there. Yeah, that's a great brunch item. Usually you have this out drinking, but not bad for brunch too. Very nice. All right. Let's get back to our second one. That's looking pretty much done. We'll need a plate. Don't worry, I won't eat all of these on my own. I'll probably save them for Yuki when she comes home. Have it as a snack. Flip it over again. See, they crisped pretty nicely, but that's what can happen if you don't put the batter on. It can get a bit dark. So put those on a plate. And again, while that happens, since we have our kimchi and cheese ready, making a little mess, but yeah, that's all right. Comes with cooking. So it is getting pretty hot, so just be careful. Lower it if you need to. And there we go. That's how we make 3 different versions from one batter, cheese, normal one, cheese, and then kimchi. So I'll save just a little bit batter because I learned my lesson from last time. Just clean some things. All right, and Give these a good mix again. Ah. Careful with the oil. It's going to be hot at this point. And make sure it's coming together and staying together. There we are. And we'll cut the rest of the meat. And perfect. We have the perfect amount for our 3 okonomiyakis. Really like that in Japan you can buy pretty much like perfect portion size meat here. You don't have to buy them in big bulk, though, you know, sometimes that's nice too, depending on what you're making. But for this, for today, this was perfect. Alright. Layer those on. Alright, that one, it's our last one. Layered it all on, and I saved a little bit of batter this time. And we'll do the same thing, just ladle it on top, give it a nice crust. The cheese, there is some cheese in there that'll also crisp pretty nicely. And there we go. 3 okonomiyakis from just the one batter. We'll do the same thing with our second okonomiyaki. Alright. Sauce one way, the other. Yeah, I can have. Mayonnaise. Aonori. And some Katusobushi flakes. Alright, and there's our second one too. You can clean up the sides if you like, but you know, this is a fun party food. We'll just leave that as is. Alright, let me check the chat real quick as our third one cooks. So let's see, what did I miss? So is that breakfast? Yes, pretty much is. So, and Tao says, look even better than the one sold in Osaka. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Mabao says, neat. You make it look indeed possible to make it home. That's awesome. That's why I want to make these videos and share these recipes with all of you. That was kind of the theme of my channel. All the recipes I've learned from over 10 years living in Japan. I want to share them and hope that you can make them at home. And Susie says, these are amazing. And glad to hear that. I'm glad it worked out for you. And I hope it was easy to follow along and cook at the same time. Okay, so that's the basic recipe there. We have the kimchi's coming out in just a few minutes, but that's pretty much it for making okonomiyaki at home. I'm glad you could be here. If you have any other questions before this third one is done, feel free to leave them in the chat. They don't necessarily have to be about okonomiyaki. If you have any questions about other recipes on my channel, or questions about me living here in Japan, feel free to leave them in the chat while we wait for this third okonomiyaki to cook. But yeah, I appreciate you being here and taking some time to watch this first live stream. So I'm hoping to do some live streams maybe every other week or so. So maybe the next one in 2 weeks. I'm thinking hot pot is another good one. I wanted to start, so I started my channel and now these live streams based on the things that maybe I would want to take home with me. If I were to leave Japan, which recipes would I want to bring back home with me? And I think like I wanted to start easy with like what are those classic recipes that I would want to make sure I could make anywhere. And I think okonomiyaki really lends itself well to being made, you know, wherever you go, except for like the sauces and mayo, Katusobushi. You might need to track those down. And then hot pot is just another, you know, something I love to make almost maybe like 2-3 times a week during the winter months. And that's also very versatile, and you can do a lot with that. So that's what I'll start with, doing the live streams, those kind of easy dishes that to get started, and then I'll eventually, yeah, we'll make some new things live too once I'm all used to the whole setup and streaming. Karen says, that was very well done, thank you. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining in. And Mabao asks, would all-purpose flour work? Yes, absolutely. So that's what I use today, is some all-purpose flour. Okay, and I think we're about time to flip this one too. Grab your 2 spatulas. Oops, went into the batter a little, okay. And let's see. Wow, it's a little darker, but you know, not bad. I mean, we do have the cheese in there, we do have the kimchi in there, but that was close. Maybe a little darker than I would have liked, but that's alright. Alright, and anything else? Any other questions? All right. If there's anything else that you'd like to see me make or we can make together live, let me know that in the chat too. I'd be happy to take suggestions and we can make something together. All right, I'll be right back. All right, we have a thank you, Jeremy. Well, thank you and thanks for cooking. And then Travis asks, how is the batter recipe different from monjayaki? That is a great question, and I'm actually not sure. I know monja must have a lot more water in it because it's much looser than okonomiyaki. I don't think it's something I'll make on my channel just because it's not going to be good in the thumbnail. It doesn't look great, but it tastes great. I don't think it'll ever be featured here, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it. All right, I think if that is it, we do have the third one coming up, but if there aren't any other questions, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me for my first live stream. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you come again and check out what I'm cooking next. So yeah, I hope to do more of these just because it's a little easier on my time to do it live and not have to worry about editing later. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you appreciate that, and I hope you cook. We'll cook, you know, I hope next time you join in, we can cook together. So I think that's it for me today. You can stick around and watch me top this last okonomiyaki, or you can you know, enjoy the rest of your day or evening wherever you are. So a few more questions just before I leave. Does the dashi have seasoning or is it just for flavor? Yes, both. So you have a smokiness from the fish, but the kombu adds that seasoning because kombu is what they originally synthesized MSG from, so it has that rich umami taste. So that's why when you make dashi, you put in some kombu, and yeah, it gives that rich, deep flavor, and you don't need to add salt. Like if you notice, I didn't add any salt to the batter. You could instead, if you don't have dashi, just make sure to season. Like I think like the Hiroshima style, you add like the salt and pepper to the batter. I didn't with this one, just I was relying all on dashi for seasoning. So that's a great question. So thank you, looks delicious. Tao says thank you. Free says thank you. Yum, domo arigato. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. Okay, have to find a place for this as I get the next one coming out of the pan soon. Probably take a couple of pictures for the updated thumbnail. All right. Right. Okay, there we go. Our last one, mayo. And some Aonori on top. Katusobushi flakes. And there we are. There we have Okonomiyaki. Thanks for watching again. Appreciate it. Hope you come again.